think about the delusion that maybe it seems that we put ourselves under to like keep going. And I've seen people kind of like tear down the whole like delusional trend or mindset or whatever. And if you're not familiar with it, it's basically like, I feel like over the past year or so, people have just been like, oh, I can just tell myself whatever I want, like whatever story I want, and stick with that and see what happens if I stick with that, which I think could be interpreted in so many other ways. Mm-hmm. Like I think it's just people finally saying like, I'm tired of believing a story that doesn't serve me. I don't care if it's true. And a lot of people are like, oh, you don't need to be delusional. That stuff is true. Whatever you want to call it. I think not only is that helpful, I think you have to. Like, I really feel like there's no other way to stick with something that doesn't make sense to society, because we biologically want to fit in and conform. Right. You have to put yourself under a certain delusional mindset to continue doing something that does not make sense with your peers or people around you.
And the people that say that, oh, that's not delusional, that's actually true, they're just next level delusional.
That's what I'm saying. Like, delusional is not, I mean, if you look up the textbook definition, it's just basically alluding to something that's not true. But like, I don't want to get into a whole other debate, but like, truth is also subjective. And I feel like you decide what is true and what is not true. Like, no matter how many people can be saying this is a fact, you can just very well just say that's not true to me. And I think this time you're just using truth for your benefit. Like, whatever you want it to be, that's going to be your new foundation. And I feel like if you are against the delusional trend or whatever, in a way you are delusional in your own way. Like, you have put yourself under a set of constraints and beliefs. So why not, if you're going to do that anyway, if the default is to be delusional in some way, we're all delusional by telling ourselves a certain story of our life and how things are. If that's going to be a default anyway, you might as well change the delusion to something that you actually want in your life.
Yeah, everyone has beliefs. Everyone has assumptions about the world. Everyone has a model.
They're biased about something.
Yeah, they have their biases. So why not? And those are optional in many ways and subjective in many ways. So why not choose the beliefs, the constraints, the the etc. that serve you and the things that you want to get out of life? I mean, it makes a lot of sense.
I don't understand why you wouldn't, because it's not even that you just think this way. You operate based on those beliefs. Like, we operate based on our thoughts.
Behavior.
Exactly. And so it's like, why wouldn't you set yourself up for the life that you want, like your behaviors to match those delusional thoughts that are in your favor, if you have the ability to do that? And I think with this career path or maybe an unconventional life, I think you kind of have to create this like new reality, this new world. Like for us, we kind of practice these beliefs and kind of repeat them to each other, like, because it's not normal. It's not normal to think in a exponential graph or chart that it's one day something will happen. Yeah, it's not intuitive. Like, on a day-to-day, you're going to be thinking, if I'm not getting more, I'm getting worse. Like, but you have to kind of train yourself out of that thinking, because it's not real.
We have this mindset of this is going to last forever kind of thing. We just extrapolate our current conditions forever in the future, and that's just not how it is. Nothing lasts forever.
There was one day we were talking, like, we take our walks, and we usually like sit by the fireplace and like, start reciting our witch chants to each other. We start we like talk about our ideas, and I don't know why, but like, we were just thinking about, like, we have to reframe this, like, oh, if something bad happens on this path, like, I don't get the client, or I did, because at the time you were consulting, I don't get the client, or this doesn't work out, like, I'm not making any money, something's going wrong, and I'm already on this risky path, like, I'm like, then for sure I need to get out, like, I need to save myself because I'm about to die. Like, your human instinct is like, I'm going to die, I need to get out of this situation ASAP. But I think you have to, like, what we did in that moment, I think, is like reframe your thinking. Instead of thinking like, this is awful, it's going to last forever, I have to think, okay, I'm learning a skill right now. And even though it feels like I'm on the brink of like survival, I'm learning a skill that's probably going to be useful in the next however many
Right.
years. And I thought that was so interesting because when I was freelancing, I had to be delusional because I had $6,000 to my name, and I literally like to use for the rest of my life. And I gave myself the constraint, I can't go back to corporate, so I have to figure out how to make money. And I didn't have any skills I didn't have any professional experience in the field that I wanted to be in, which was marketing. I had to give myself this like fake reality where I'm like, okay, this is a game. I get to play around. I get to do what I want. I get to try things. And I just need to make like $1 more. I just need to make $1,000 more. And I had to create this thing. I did this kind of like subconsciously to keep going, because if I didn't do that, I would have just either gone back to the thing I so desperately wanted to leave, or I would have not survived in that situation. Looking back, I take so much of what I learned back then and use it now. And I'm like, okay, back then when I thought I was going to die, I turned my life into a game and it worked out. And that became a skill, like turning a negative situation into something positive. And I use that frame of thinking now, and it has become very useful now. And I thought that was going to be like a one-time thing, that if I figured it out, great. If I didn't, I die. But it's become like a habit, something I've learned that I can use now. And I use that as an inspiration a lot of times, because it was like, I wasn't just like running around town. Like I was developing skills, and I didn't even realize I was developing these skills. And I think that's now when I'm in a situation where I'm like, God, I can't figure this out. There's no way. I don't understand it. And it's like, what if I'm developing skills right now that I'm going to use 5 years from now?
Right.
And if I give up, I won't.
Are.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
All the work that you do now is an investment to like
for the future,
basically into for your future. Like even if it's not going to generate any revenue or whatever this month or in 6 months, a subset of what you're learning is going to be valuable long term. Like for me, learning how to learning how to read, learning how to write, learning how to talk, learning how to market, like learning how to build out a funnel, like a sales funnel, learning how to do sales calls, learning how to talk to people, learning how to interview people. Like these skills come up in so many different contexts. Like I will do the podcast, I'll host an event, I'll be talking to clients, or I would like in the past talking to clients, or talking to potential like partners or collaborators on something. The ability to like talk and like dig into people, these are all incredibly useful skill sets. Like learning how to build a community, like these are all things that could be worth millions of dollars in the future. So Shaheen has thought of a really good technique lately that's, I feel like, can really help in the process of trusting the process when you just don't know, but you feel that you're aligned to something. You mean like the pick one mentality? At any point in your entrepreneurial career, you're going to have to prioritize and focus on something. And you can't just keep bouncing around between like half-assed ideas. Like you have to give it a go. Like you really have to commit to the thing. And like you with your consulting business, you committed to that and you were in on it. Maybe it wasn't fully it, but you pivoted later, you know? And now you're doing San. Maybe there's a pivot later, or maybe not. This is it. But at every stage, like there has to be some level of commitment. And I think that is the superpower of humans is the commitment. Because just thinking about most people, they graduate college, they go into typically a completely new industry, like you went into telecommunications, and they start doing a role that they've never done before. Like, so they're no experience, no experience, and they're doing this completely new thing. And a lot of time they don't necessarily care about it. Like you didn't care about it, or like it. But what happens after doing that job for even 1 year, 2 years, they get really good at that. They learn a lot about that industry. And what has happened is they've been forced to commit to that role. They've been put into this lane. They've been told, like, these are the constraints. You do this specifically, and we will pay you. And like that system forces them to commit to learning that role, learning that industry, learning how to do that job. What I think people don't realize is you can do that same level of commitment on yourself. Like, our ability to adapt to our situation is our greatest superpower. So just like you learned whatever role, like whatever job you're doing now, you're probably brand new to it at a certain point. That same ability you're capable of doing in your own lane, like creating your own job, you know, creating your own situation, and you just commit to it.
Yeah.
And you can get really good at it. So like with you and San, you committing to product and retail.
Yeah.
You're going to get really good at product and retail.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Just putting yourself into that box. So I think that's like the power of commitment.
With committing, it's like either way, it gives you something. So if it's wrong, if it's not the thing you're supposed to be doing, you'll know faster. Like that's why I pivoted so quickly from consulting, because I committed to it as much as I could. Honestly, I don't know if I couldn't
done it 100%.
Really, like I don't even think I could allow myself to do it 100% because it just never felt right.
Yeah, and I feel like that's a red flag.
Yeah, and I couldn't, and I'm not somebody who necessarily will procrastinate on everything or just like wait around and be lazy. I feel like if I'm being lazy or being like that, it's something is not aligning. It's always the case. And I think with consulting, I was trying so hard to make it 100%, and I would spend like 5 hours or 10 hours a week on it because I just couldn't bring myself to do more. And then vice versa, when you're doing something that you should be doing, you can see results or you can get signals faster than if you were to kind of just 50% it, 25% it. And I think that's why it's
take you twice as long.
Yeah, and that's kind of the bandwagon we're on. It's just like, why don't we just fully commit? Like, why do this side hustle, side job, side thing? I feel like I've tried that like my whole life. Everything I wanted to do, my personal projects have always been on the side. It doesn't work.
And when you're talking about exponential, non-linear growth, the difference between 20 hours a week and 40 hours a week is not double. And the difference between 40 hours a week and 80 hours a week isn't double. So maybe you're not even going, it's going to be like that phase transition. It's going to go from water to ice. When you go from 40 hours a week to 80 hours a week, or you like really fully commit, like it goes from a side hustle to the main hustle. And you don't see that. Like right now, I don't make enough from content creation to pay the bills. Yeah. But I'm still committing because I feel like there's enough signal there that if I do double down on it,
who knows?
Like it's not just gonna double the
results.
It's gonna quadruple or more. You
know?
Yeah.
So it's in that same way. Like even though putting in double the work may not get you double the outcome, like it could also be even more than that. Like you just never know. And I think if you double down on content for a period of time and you explore more of it, you'll know, you have more information, you have better understanding of the thing because you spent more time with it. So I feel like especially after the consulting situation, I just feel like, okay, now I fully know why consulting is not the
for
thing.
You.
Like I don't have any idea or question in my head, like should I have done, I just know. And
you really went after
it. I did it didn't work, and I failed fast. And I think that allows you committing allows you to fail fast and just move on instead of like, oh, I'm gonna 50% it and see if something, and it keeps things lingering for longer than they need to be. And so I feel like that is just a really good example. Like if you can commit to something you don't even like and be really good at it or make money from it,
be a professional, be getting paid $100,000 a year to
generate value for people to pay you that much. You imagine if you put that same energy towards the thing that you actually want, which is, a lot of the things I preach with like San Rizan is just really committing to things that actually matter to you. Like what would that kind of life look like? And that's what back to the mindset thing, like that's what's been guiding me the most. Is like I'm, instead of just making content or instead of just trying to be a entrepreneur, like I'm really focused on answering a question. Like what if I put my all, I'm testing a hypothesis. Like what if I put my all into something I actually care about, and I only do things that are aligned with me? What kind of life could I create from that? And if that life is good, why would I waste time doing anything else other than that? Because I'm doing something I'm aligned with, and it gets me more money, and I get to connect with people I actually care about. Like